I on the wrong podcast? I thought we were doing MMA.
I thought we've made this clear. We don't talk that much about MMA anymore. We just kind of log on an MMA podcast, talk about what's on our mind. What is on your mind, Sly, as we begin?
We've been loose as fuck recently. We still want that.
I don't really know what's on. I'm just happy to be here, I guess. I've got to go in like a big half an hour.
Okay. Oh shit! All right,
we can be quicker. We can be quicker. No general conversation, no movie talk. A short cold open. We're going straight into it because this is the MMA Split Pick Show. We are back to give our picks and predictions for UFC Vegas, Santos versus Ankalaev. This is a sleeper of a card. When I was looking at it earlier, I remember Josh saying, it's a card for the diehards. And I looked at it, I was just like, that's a good fucking card. I don't care if you don't know all the names. There are some really good matchups. The main card is outstanding. We're going to be giving picks and predictions. First and foremost, apologies for what happened with our previous episode. The sound being picked up on Sly's mic, I have addressed it. I've put myself in my room behind a door. Slightly better lighting, I do think. Sly, are you hearing me? Is anyone else hearing any feedback or my voice coming through with their headset, through Sly's headset?
I can hear everything. I'm fine. It's all good. Sounds good. Okay. Sounds great.
Can you hear the echo of my voice from downstairs, or can you only hear me?
No, you're miles away. I didn't even know you guys did the podcast. I couldn't hear you talk.
This is good news. This is good news, which means that we can come to you in better quality, although not quite HD because we're still recording on Zoom. Another thing we are hoping to fix. Before we get started, please don't forget to smash the like button, leave a comment. This is a pick show. Tell us what your picks and predictions are for this upcoming card. If you beat any of us, we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. And that leads us straight into discussing the main event. No better place to start. Ankalaev versus Santos. I'm going to let Josh kind of take this over, but my feeling about these two guys is that if we were to put them on two different trajectories of their career, they are doing this. One person is going downwards, in my opinion. The other person is going up. Santos, absolute beast at middleweight. Had a great start to his light heavyweight career. Fucked both of his knees really badly in his title shot. And I'll be honest, I don't think he's been the same guy ever since. Ankalaev, on the other hand, looks almost unbeatable. The way that he dispatched of Kutalaba in that second fight, the level that I think he's at, compared to a lot of particularly these older guys that kind of surfaced at a point when the division wasn't quite as steep. I'm feeling like this is Ankalaev's to lose, and I think it's going to be fairly comfortable. Josh, I'd love to get your thoughts on this before Sly weighs in.
This is going to be a bloodbath. Santos has got a kid now as well, right?
Yes, he's got a kid on the way. His wife is such a
just
badass
on the way
that
still.
I don't know if it's been born, but she fought when she was clearly like 2 to 3 months pregnant.
Was it that? I don't think it was that pregnant, was it?
Well, this is the debate. She set a picture up about a month after that fight, and her baby and the belly was like properly like out and showing, which suggested, like, I saw a video and somebody estimated that's like 4 to 5 months pregnant, which means that the previous fight where she got TKO'd with a body shot could very well have been while she was pregnant. I do not know. Can you get CTE pre-birth?
Not a doctor.
You can't imagine it's recommended. I mean, you're not even supposed to go on roller coasters.
I remember trying to dispel the idea that she was pregnant, but then I don't know. Like, fuck it. My thinking was, if he has a newborn in the house, he's old, he's got no knees. He has kind of lost half a step, unfortunately. He's still Maheta. You give him respect. He's a fucking dangerous guy. He's a hammer of a human being.
Still got the power.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? If Ankalaev wasn't such a monster that he was able to tap faster than the average human being, costing him victory against Paul Craig, you know, he wouldn't even have to fight a Thiago Santos right now. You know, he'd be right up there kind of looking for the next title shot. He is an absolute monster. Not just the way he dispatched Kutalaba in the first one, but I very much feel like he dispatched Kutalaba in the first one. Because when Kutalaba was pulling his stupid fucking shenanigans trying to put his brow straight into Ankalaev's face before the fight, completely freaking out the referee, and upsetting the rhythm of it. Ankalaev just stood there, just stoic and fierce. He could not give a fuck. He was just ready to kill him.
Well,
I don't know if Santos gets out of the first round. What do you think, Sly?
That's a bold prick. I'd
I
like
don't
to
think,
hear what the stats
yeah, I
are
don't
saying
think
on
Santos
this.
is going anywhere in this fight. I think this is so one-sided.
What are the stats telling you, Sly?
Oh, Ankalaev is going to win this very easily.
I'm going to tuck a wild guess out there and say that he's got a better takedown defense percentage, a better striking accuracy, and he probably absorbs a lot less strikes as well. Am I correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. He's just better everywhere.
Who lands more strikes a minute?
It's almost even. I mean, Thiago Silva a tiny bit more, but that's because he's fought against people that were easier to hit than Ankalaev. So
Thiago Santos.
yeah, Thiago Santos, but only by a little bit, so it doesn't really count. It's
over a larger body of work as well. That average, right? So consistency.
I just don't think this fight is very even. I think it's
It's not. Kevin Lee Diego Sanchez might be the second worst bloodbath this weekend.
I don't know if it's as one-sided as that fight's going to be, but here's the issue I think with it. Ankalaev has got the grappling threat. He can handle himself on the ground. He can take Santos down if he needs to. And he's such a surgical sniper of a striker. Maheta's a brawler. He was at his best when he was able to blitz forward and land heavy, up close inside, taking advantage of his power and aggression. And really, since he's had the knees, he just doesn't look like he's got the same level of explosivity. He's trying to be more of a counter striker, but he's not going to out counter strike Ankalaev. Ankalaev will pick him apart if he does that. And to be honest, I think Ankalaev is going to pick him apart and just counterpot him as if Santos tries to charge in. I think this is going to be the announcement fight for Ankalaev. In fact, if I recall, Josh, I think we even said a few months ago, we're going to find out who the UFC doesn't like in the light heavyweight top 10 by who they give Ankalaev to. And our worry was that it was going to be Anthony Smith. They clearly like Anthony Smith, and they haven't quite put him to that challenge. But unfortunately, that means that Thiago Santos is the man who has to take the bullet. Let's get to predictions. I'm saying Ankalaev by knockout.
We're all saying Ankalaev by knockout.
Yeah.
Not the greatest of surprises. Listen, does Maheta have a puncher's chance? Of course he does. Do I think that's going to be how it goes down? Absolutely not. And in the interest of speed, as I bring the fights back up on my phone, we have got the co-main event, bantamweight, Song Yadong taking a massive step up to fight the stuttering but always dangerous Marlon Moraes. Does anyone feel that you can pretty much take everything we've just said about Ankalaev versus Santos and apply it to Marlon Moraes versus Song Yadong? Of course, Moraes...
It's worse.
You think it's worse?
Because, Magic Man made his chin disappear. This is 3 knockouts in the space of, about 18 months, if that. This is going to be the 4th fight in 18 months, averaging a knockout every 6 months. He's looking a little chinny. Song Yadong's a powerful guy and has great top control, but he's also got, some nice power in his hands. And I think it's not going to be as bad a mismatch, but in terms of if you're talking about downtrending skill set, it's much, much worse for Marlon Moraes because at his age, he's kind of trying to force that bounce back when he should be taking a bit more time. I don't know. I understand why he's doing it. And I don't think Song Yadong's the worst opponent to kind of, try and get that bounce back win against in terms of how much damage he thinks he's going to take. But I think he might be sleeping on Song Yadong here because I'm picking a lot of knockouts from this main card, man. I really think Song Yadong is going to rock him. Not with anything well crafted or brilliant. Just Marlon Moraes is fighting like a shell of himself, and he's got no chin to back him up right now. That's my feeling.
The only thing I'd chuck in. So, first of all, what I'd say with Marlon Moraes, 99% of the world thinks he lost the fight against Aldo. And if you view that as a loss rather than a win, which it really probably should have been, he's on a 5-fight losing streak since his title shot. So it looks like it has just all gone horrifically wrong. However, the people he's lost to is Henry Cejudo, Jose Aldo, Rob Font, Corey Sandhagen, Rob Font, and Merab Dashvili, who might be arguably 5 of the best fighters in this division. So he's not losing to bums. I do agree that he's rushing things back, and he does look like he's completely lost his chin and confidence. But this is still a really big step up for Son Yudong, who looked a lot better in his last 2 fights. He's clearly improving. I think he's starting to hit those next level thresholds where he's just making rapid gains, and it's really paying off in his performances. But this is a tough test, and Song is not really much of a grappler. So you're talking about 2 strikers, one guy who really throws mainly hands against somebody else who's very much a Muay Thai striker. I think this is a much more even fight. I still think Song's going to win. I'm going to say by decision, but I would not be surprised if this is a step up too quickly for him, and if the style matchup just works out in Marlon Moraes' favor. So I nervously say Song by knockout, by decision.
Yeah, I think the same.
It's been a while since he's seen the 3rd round.
This is true.
I think this might be where I edge it. Might be
You're
a
saying-
method week.
You're saying Song by knockout.
Oh, yeah.
Down to featherweight, and a fight that I'm really looking forward to. Sadiq Youssef, who's looked really, really good in this division, taken on an absolute vet, Alex Caceres, who at some point around the pandemic or just before seems to have turned his career completely around. He's winning fights that we didn't think he had a chance in. Is this going to be another one of these fights? I don't know. He's got the speed, he's got the variety, he's obviously a really nice striker. Sadiq Youssef is a powerful, explosive fucking guy. I would argue, though, that Sadiq Youssef is not bringing that much variety of skills different from his last opponent, Choi, but I do think he's a bit more well-rounded. Before we do the picks, Josh, what's your thoughts on this one?
Caceres is a hard guy to finish, and you know he is pretty good at picking up the decision when it does go over the distance. But honestly, I don't think it's Sadiq Youssef's power that's going to make a difference in this one. With Caceres' size, frame, and movement, he is a hard guy to hit. I think Sadiq Youssef's going to kind of put the combinations on him, put in the body work, and yeah, I think he's just going to kind of outpoint him. I think that'll be kind of his key to victory, is just kind of stay busy, because Caceres is going to find it very easy to stay on the outside, pick him apart. He's not a guy you want to take lightly. He's got that submission threat as well. I just think Super Sadiq is just a much, much better fighter. And despite the disadvantage in terms of height and reach, actually, I don't know, where's the difference? It's got to be, because he's not a small guy, but there's got to be...
Service has got
fair
1
gap
inch height
between them.
more, and he's got
Just 1 inch reach.
2.5 inches of
Inch
reach.
Advantage.
2.5. Okay, yeah. So it's not like a huge pronounced difference, but he's got a little bit of an edge there. I think he has got kind of better footwork and movement than Youssef.
He fights long as well. He fights a lot longer than Youssef does.
And he
Slight-
takes less stupid chances than he used to.
This is true. Sly, what are the stats telling you?
Yeah, just very even, super even everywhere. Just very even fighters. I don't know, it's tough. They're very similar in many ways. Without even the stats though, this is Yusuf to win. I think Yusuf has just got a better chance of knocking him out. Caceres is not really a knockout guy. He goes distance. If Yusuf decides to let's say put the pedal to the floor a bit more, I think he'll just knock Alex Caceres out.
I'm going in the other direction. I think Ceres has found his feet. I think he's taken a step up. I think he's experienced. And I think that if you look at the Choi fight, things were not going his way. He was able to stay calm and find a position he was able to take advantage in. The guy's getting sneaky good at these submissions as well. So I'm going to say Caceres by submission. Bold. Going bold. And Josh, what was your picks? Yusuf by knockout or Yusuf by decision?
No. I'm going to go Yusuf by decision on this one. I just think Caceres, he is quite tricky when it comes to trying to finish him. Very beatable, but he is hard to finish.
That's a fair point. Moving down, we've got the return of Khalil Rountree. It is safe to say things have not quite gone as well as he would have hoped in his UFC tenure. He's had moments of brilliance. He's had moments where it's all just gone wrong. He's flirted with retirement a few times. This is always a worrying thing to hear. His last fight, he just seemed to gas. He's taking on Khalil Robertson, who himself has had a bit of a rough time, but in all fairness has lost to pretty decent guys, has had a bit of issues hitting the scale. My feeling is more in the direction of Khalil Robertson. I'll let you guys chime in a sec, but I'm going to say Robertson by decision as my pick.
I don't know, man. Khalil Rountree is a fantastic talent, and he did kind of get to MMA a little late in the game, and you know, is kind of trying to be lining on the job in the UFC, really. I think that rather than it being kind of an issue with his kind of mindset, I think the guy just very much speaks his mind. And that's why it's kind of easy to sort of think, I don't know, has he got one foot out the door or not? You know, when he comes to fight, he fucking comes to fight. You know, he jabbed out Gohan Saki. He was Bangkok ready against your boy Eric Anders. The Johnny Walker fight, unfortunate. You know, he has a lot of unfortunate fights. I think he's going to turn it around on this one. I'm going to go Rountree by knockout.
Statman Sly, it's your pick.
Khalil Robertson by submission.
By submission?
Yeah.
What's Khalil Rountree's takedown defense stat?
50%.
50%. And what's Robertson's takedown percentage accuracy?
60%.
60%. Yeah, I think I'm going with the numbers and saying Robertson. Are you saying submission, Sly, or did you say by decision?
Yeah, submission.
Full pick. Which takes us to my favourite fight on the card. They must have put this one together last minute because one of these guys only fought a couple of weeks ago. Return of Terence McKinney. Man is on form. Man wants to win. Man wants to earn money. A big step up, though, taken on Drew Dober. Dangerous striker. Hits hard. Can take a punch. I believe, this is an amazing stat, I don't believe he's ever been knocked down in his career. He's been taken down. He's been subbed. He has not been knocked down, which I think is a stunning stat. And kind of makes sense because the man has one of the largest jaws in the lightweight division. So you could argue that he should be able to take a punch. Terence McKinney's a dangerous guy there, man. He's young. He's almost died twice, so he's not got that to fear. And he's got power. He can submit people. That's rear naked choke he got against Frez Ziam, where he didn't even have the right body position, but the squeeze was just so powerful that the guy tapped. I'm saying McKinney, and I'm going to say submission because I don't think he can knock Drew Dober out.
Yeah, I'm going to say exactly the same thing, to be honest.
Boom, me and Sly are on sync today.
Yeah, I'm not. I've got a little bit more faith in T-Rex hands. I'm going to go knockout. I was going to go decision, but it would be the first decision in McKinney's career. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, talking about fights where we're not likely to see a decision, Alex Pereira taking on Bruno Silva. Alex Pereira, do not let the 4-1 record fool you. This guy is one of the most lethal kickboxers in the world. Glory champion. And really, he is on, as if Adesanya can stay champ, I think he's on a collision course for a MMA rematch against Stylebender. This fight, I do not believe, is the one that's going to stop him. I'm saying Pereira, and I'm saying knockout.
I think everyone's going to say that now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bruno Silva's a good fighter.
Bruno Silva, he's no bum. He is a good fucking fighter, but I don't know. I think it's a little closer than everybody else has it. I think inevitably it's going to be a knockout one way or the other. I'm leaning Bahia. I feel like everyone and their mum is thinking he's the second coming. I just think Bruno Silva is a little better than people are giving him credit for. But I'm still going Bahia.
It's just about the wrestling with Pereira. Only the most elite strikers are going to have a hope of being able to stand and strike with him. he's going to struggle against the guys that can put him on his backside. And Bruno Silva he's got good top control, he's got jiu-jitsu, he's got good takedowns, but it's not the primary focus of his game. He's going to want to strike, he's going to want to stand there. And Pereira's crazy powerful, man. Crazy powerful. The guy does not need to land many times to knock you out. So that should be a fun opener to the main card. Sly, I'm aware that you have to bounce, so we're going to do a speed round for the prelims, starting with Semi the Jedi Semmelsberger taking on AJ Fletcher, who I believe is a Lafayette native or knows Poirier very well. I saw Poirier giving him a lot of shout outs.
There's no way that Semmelsberger's got a chance against Fletcher. I'm completely on Fletcher's side to keep his undefeated record, and I believe that he will win by knockout.
I have a bit more faith in Semmelsberger, man. The guy is fucking good, and debuts can be tricky. I'm going Semmelsberger by decision. I think he's gonna take advantage of some debut nerves.
I'm going Semi the Jedi by KO.
Boom.
Our boy loves countering leg kicks. I think this kid's going to come out just underestimating him a bit of the jitters. And he's going to run into the semi.
Women's flyweight, JJ Aldridge taking on fan favorite of the show, Jillian Robertson. I think you know where I'm going on this. It's going to be a Jillian Robertson submission.
I'm a huge fan of JJ Aldridge as well, but I am going to go Robertson on this one. Robertson by decision.
I have no idea, but actually Robertson by submission.
Just got smoke in my ear.
Yeah, Robertson by submission.
Yeah. Damon Jackson.
I hate smoke guy.
What about Trevin Jones against Javid Bashar?
Oh, sorry, I skipped that one out. Trevin Jones against Javid Bashar. I've got to go Javid by knockout.
Okay, I'm taking 5-star Jones by KO.
Sly.
I'm going to go for the Afghanistani. The Afghan, how do you say? Is it Afghan or Afghanistani?
You can say Afghanistani.
Really?
Or Afghan.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think he'll win by KO.
Snow Leopard.
He's also going to keep his undefeated record.
Very nice. Damon Jackson returning to take on Cam Weller-Kirk. I do not know who Cam Weller-Kirk is, so I'm going to go Damon Jackson by TKO.
Cam Weller-Kirk actually had a really good debut against Makwan Amikani, who is, very much, he can strike, but he's very much a grappler first and foremost, although totally different in terms of technique, power, and frame to Damon Jackson. But yeah, I'm going Jackson too. I'm going Jackson by decision.
I'll go Jackson by submission.
Sabina Mazzo taking on Miranda Maverick, who's had a bit of a rough old time in her last couple of fights. I thought she beat Macy Barber. She definitely lost to fucking new star of the division. What's her name? Wrestling everybody into the ground. Maverick's last fight.
Right now.
Erin Blanchfield. I think Maverick bounces back, though. I'm not the biggest rater of Sabine Mazzo. As Josh has pointed out previously, she got one great head kick knockout on the regional circuit and hasn't really shown that kind of form since. Maverick by sub.
Maverick decision.
Yeah, Maverick decision. Maverick decision. So.
Takes us down to Dalcha Lungiambula taking on Cody Brundage. And I'm going to go Lungiambula by KO.
Lungiambula by decision.
Yeah, Lungiambula by KO.
Chris Moutinho.
Is there anything to suggest that he's not going to win this fight, Sly?
Yeah, there's plenty to suggest that he's not going to win this fight, but just looking at the two guys, it just looks so much more hench. Like, I've never seen them fight. He just looks like an absolute beast on this picture, mate.
Obviously, I just think because I've only seen Brundage in that Nick Maximov fight. And
So
I was just like, yeah,
Can I take Luke Ngabula by KO and not decision?
You can take him by KO,
Yeah.
not decision.
he's going to disappoint you though, just so you know.
Final
know
two
nothing.
fights. We got the return of Chris Moutinho, who became everyone's fifth favourite fighter after he went through his grueling 3-round eventual TKO loss to Sean O'Malley. But he obviously did that on short notice, took an absolute beating, was still willing to come forward. I think everyone wanted to see this guy get another chance. He's getting a much more favourable matchup in Guido Canetti. And how can I not root for Moutinho to get the win here? I'm going to say Moutinho by KO.
No, I think that's a great job, Matt.
You going KO as well?
I'm not going to Moutinho.
You going Connect?
You're crazy. The guy's got the most absorbed significant strikes per minute in the whole of the UFC. He holds that record at the moment. So he's actually not even fighting for the win. He's just fighting to maybe get out of having that record, hopefully. Which I don't think he is going to get out of. He's got this shiny hair, man. It's so easy to hit. It's like this fluorescent thing, and you're just aiming to hit fluorescent stuff. He's got no chance. I'm going to go for
had
Canetti.
one fight.
Yeah,
He had one fight against Sean
O'Malley.
O'Malley.
About O'Malley's hair as well, you know.
Yeah, Canetti by KO.
Josh.
Yeah, man. Canetti's had some tough fights. I kind of like him. Like, he's not a bum, but fuck it. Yeah, I'm going to go Moutinho by decision.
And finally, to round off our picks and start off the card, we have got Taffun and Chukwue taking on Azimat Mizikanov. And I cannot look past Mizikanov by TKO.
Yeah, I'm going to go KO as well. I didn't even see him on the Contender Series, but fair bit of hype. And in Chukwue, I don't know. It's not that I'm not impressed, but I'm not a believer. So I'll take the new boy.
Yeah, I think Boat's brother will win it by KO.
Careful. His brother, if it's his brother Bilat, that man managed to get out of a fucking steel cage. That's a tough dude.
This is Agent Azimat. No, Azimat, no. No, don't sit
Everybody's
on my face,
taking.
Azimat.
Oh my god, something came out. Everyone's taking Kevin Lee, of course.
Yeah.
Huh?
Is there an option of is death in the cage an optional method to choose for that fight? Because I think that's a distinct possibility. Unless the ref is very much in the understanding that Diego Sanchez should be removed from the fight if he takes any level of significant pain or damage.
Do you still get credit for that prediction if Joshua Fabia turns up, jumps across the security barriers, climbs into the cage, gets his fucking knife out, and just shanks him?
Yes, because it still comes down to decisions made in your fight career by Diego Sanchez, although that would be very sad.
It's actually they've also got Ray Borg fighting Ricky Banderas. So yeah,
it's kind of nice to see Ray Borg
not
back.
Bellator on as well. Oh yeah, fucking it's great having Ray Borg back.
He needs the money, man.
Eagle FC free to watch online. I think what's it called? FLX, the website. Google Eagle FC free to watch online, and it will take you straight to the platform.
Well, that concludes our picks. Sly, I'm aware that you have an appointment that you have to make, so feel free to jump off. Josh, while you are still on, though, I wanted to get your opinion because, obviously, your team's former quarterback got traded to the Colts, played enough games to, obviously, then get you a first-round pick and a third-round pick, and has now been traded to effectively your divisional rivals in what is situational hell for a player right now in the NFL. How does it feel watching this contract just get passed around, this player just get consistently rejected as you get to sit there with your shiny new quarterback who's just taking you to the playoffs?
It's all coming out now, you know. Apparently he was venting his frustration when we went on the Super Bowl run that the team was winning without him. That really pissed him off. He was complaining to other players in the injury room about that. Frank Reich has literally had to get on his knees and apologize to ownership in Indy for vouching for the guy. Fuck that stupid big bag of shit. You know, I'm happy taking Jalen Hurts behind our run game. I reckon we're going to fucking sweep the commies this year. It's great that he's going to the team that is essentially the biggest laughing stock in the NFC. You're welcome, Carolina. But
you won't be able to appreciate this, like, but when I say this team is a dumpster fire, they went a whole season, 2 seasons without having a name. Because basically they used to be called the Redskins. They got cancelled. Their owner has been consistently sued for like mispractice, workplace abuse. They got a different coach fired because he was emailing somebody connected to this organization a whole list of like racist, sexist, homophobic kind of shit.
Nice.
And their stadium is so shit that not only was it built outside of the actual city that they play in to be closer to the city of Baltimore, hoping that they could get fans from Baltimore, but the stadium itself is falling apart. And at several different points last season, fans had sewage pipes above them explode and pour like shitty poo water all over where they were sitting. 10 fans almost died because a railing broke off and they fell like a good 6 feet and almost crushed Josh's team's quarterback's leg in the process.
Nice.
And they did fuck up a photographer's leg.
And they fucked up a photographer's leg. And just if it can't get any, their field is famous for being so bad that it's like, there's something like the percentage of players that have had like horrific career threatening or ending injuries on this field is just staggering. It's like their own team has lost like 2 of their star players for years because of injuries picked up on the stadium. And
then there's Dan Snyder.
And then there's Dan Snyder, who's the owner, who's literally just the worst human being ever. And if it can't get any better, the team that is based in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States of America, has changed their team name from the Redskins to the Washington football team, a team with no name, to now the Washington Commanders, which not only is a shit name, but it automatically means that their nickname is going to be the Commies.
Yeah, I think they were going to go with the Red Wolves, but they didn't register the trademark in time. Or like the website was taken or something, and they were like, "Oh, fuck it, let's just pick a bad name then."
The Red Wolves would have been a way better name.
I think that was like the leader in all the fan polls from all the kind of like the finalists that they were like leaking.
You get like a mascot. You can have like a fucking cool mascot. You can have merchandise selected to something like the Red Wolves. Who wants to buy a fucking Commander's toy at the store?
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily have to be a commander. It could be anything related to the name. So it could be like a cartoon hammer and sickle. You know, you could just really commie it the fuck up. But yeah, I don't give a shit about Carson Wentz going to Washington. I'm glad that Indy got fucked on that. I'm glad Washington are going to get fucked on that. Even if they sweep us, I could give a shit. We're still in rebuild mode. It's the last year of our really shitty cap space situation. We've got 3 first-round picks. There's noise that we might be moving up so we could get a decent safety and an edge. I don't know. I'm really glad that Russell Wilson refused to go to both Washington and Philadelphia because apparently we were pushing hard for that one. I guess the Broncos makes a little more sense. I guess are we releasing the bad episode, the bad audio? I think that's when we were speaking about Russell Wilson, right?
We can talk about that though.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be a Seahawks fan? Sly, of course, if you want to depart, I know NFL is not your your preference.
Yeah, just I'm going to go, guys. It's been a lovely podcast.
Thanks
I
for
hope
your
I
appearance.
get everything correct and that you guys don't.
I have an idea for the picks as well. I'm going to discuss it on next week's episode, but something to make it more rememberable and competitive. We'll discuss on next week's show.
I look forward to it, Matt. Guys, see you in a bit.
That's a lot, mate. Take care. You're a Seahawks fan, and you already know the season's not going brilliantly, and you lose your talismanic defender hours after you lose your franchise quarterback. How shit in a year where there's no quarterbacks to draft in the position they're going to be.
No, they
they could get.
They got I know they got the Broncos quarterback going the other way, right?
Drew Lock's not the one.
His name now. But it's fine for next year. Aren't they losing DK Metcalf as well?
One more year on his deal.
Oh, I heard he wants out now. I don't know.
He
Maybe
most
I'm wrong on that.
likely wants out now, and they might do that.
I was
because
reading
they can
that
trade.
on an Eagles forum where optimistic Philly fans are like, yeah, we could get fucking DK Metcalf. He would never come to Philly right now. Like, no one, it's fucking stupid. But, they were like, we can get Aaron Rodgers. We can get Chris Godwin. Like,
well, here's the argument I'd make. They want to trade him because there's no point having a star guy if he's not going to sign a new contract and he's in the last year of his deal because they're not going to be in win mode. They haven't got the offensive line to buy him time. If he went to the Eagles, he's the perfect counterpiece to Devontae Smith because Devontae Smith is your route running, not too tall, but quick, agile, great hands, that kind of guy.
He's our outside X receiver. He's our, wide receiver 1, DK Metcalf.
6'4",
can get a little dirtier, and we've got Kez can sort of run in the slot or be that deep threat on the kind of stretching both sides kind of plays.
Well, DK Metcalf's a downfield threat as well. He's a physical jump ball receiver.
Yeah.
And
how old is he now, though?
20. Dude, he's on his rookie deal. He can't be old. This is the last year of his rookie deal.
Okay.
So
you're talking about like 24, 25.
And not just that, but you sign him this year, and then you only have to give him the big contract next year. So he's not taking a cap hit this year anyway. Really, that much. He was signed in the second round.
Yeah, but if I'm DK Metcalf, I'm probably going to want more than just promises of a better tomorrow,
You'll have to give him the deal.
So you've got some first round picks and, you've got some cap space coming up. I'm going to want to go to a team that looks like a legit kind of threat within the next couple of years, if not right fucking now. Although I did also hear they're going to go for Deshaun Watson. So, I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't know how that one's going to play out. Plus, I read it on a fucking Philly forum. So
Chris Godwin's been franchise tagged.
Yeah, I know that bit. Yeah.
A lot of the good receivers have.
If Seattle get Deshaun Watson, then I imagine DK Metcalf won't really care about leaving. Unless he cares about women.
So,
which none of them do.
The issue this year is in free agency, it's not going to be a great free agency for elite wide receivers. The big ones were going to be Godwin, Devontae Adams, and Mike Williams, and they've all.
It's going to be good if you're looking for a second wide receiver, and if you're looking for a veteran wide receiver, which is exactly what we fucking want. So
there you go.
I reckon they get Juju.
It's a crazy draft this year for receivers. This is the draft that you can get a good receiver, even in the second round, even in the third round. And
mate, I can't have Jalen Reagor as my veteran receiver. We're not drafting another fucking rookie.
Worked for you last year. Worked for you last year.
It worked better than people thought it was going to because of how bad it has been going of late when we draft receivers. Alshon Jeffrey, sure, Super Bowl. But then after that, you know what I mean? Yeah. I've explained to you my whole theory on kind of selling the farm just for one season. Devontae's asked for them to bring in a veteran, someone he can learn behind. Jalen Reagor, this better be his last fucking year. Quez Watkins I like, but it's Smith and Watkins who are young as fuck. I want him to bring in a really solid second receiver who is a bit more of a veteran, not old as fuck, but like north of like 26 maybe. And yeah, if they draft another first round wide receiver, sure, potentially it's exciting, but I think it's going to kind of hamstring the development of what we've already got.
Okay, yeah.
And we need to be putting those picks towards D anyway.
Other big news, I suppose, is the trade of Khalil Mack, which kind of, I think, ends the Bears' sort of identity as the defense, as that kind of mean defense. They've lost Mack. I think they're losing Hicks. And I think there's rumors that they're going to trade a couple of the other aging guys from that side. So it's a big season of transition, man. Weird season for the Dolphins because on the one hand, I'm really excited. I think we've got this dynamite exciting, young, different kind of coach. He's been nailing the interviews. I mean, he's so fucking funny. Like he was on Rich Eisen's show. I don't know if did I tell you the story about Rich Eisen's 3?
You did. I think you might have told it on the podcast as well.
I might have told it on the podcast, so I'll shut up about that. But he went on Pat McAfee's show and just even Pat McAfee said halfway through, he's just like, you just don't talk like a coach. It's so refreshing. Like most of these guys have the spiel and you're just being yourself. So it's exciting and I think he's going to do well. But obviously the thing that's hanging over us is, did the owner bribe the previous coach $100,000 a game to lose in his first season so that we could tank for the number 1 overall spot?
Yeah, he did.
Because if there's, well, it's not about whether he did, mate. It's about whether there's proof that he did. And that's going to change our season dramatically. You know, so it's a weird balance.
I bet there is a lot of proof. Not only that, I think most owners have done that. I don't think the Dolphins are unique in that situation. Hey, you hear about them boys? Dak Prescott. Yeah, the Cowboys.
No.
It's them boys, yeah. It never fucking is, because they fucking suck. Fuck the Cowboys.
Did you say that just to have a dig at the Cowboys?
Yeah, you have to. Because they fucking suck. Amari Cooper called Dak Prescott the Black Kirk Cousins in a meeting, and Prescott went for him. I love how much that team fucking sucks.
He's more athletic than Kirk Cousins. That's a little unfair.
It's kind of a lot unfair.
He's a good player.
Technically a bit racist, but more importantly,
is it racist if it comes from another black guy though? To a black guy.
Hey, trying to excuse it like that is also racist. Technically, it's racist. No, I'm going to hop on that point.
I'm not saying that it is or isn't. I was asking the question because my theory is yes, it is still racist, and my proof of this is: have you ever seen the Boondocks?
Only bits. I've never watched all of it.
Do you know who the character Uncle Ruckus is?
Probably.
Okay, he's one of the funniest characters in the show because he's this black guy that is so unbelievably racist towards black people. And that it's kind of funny. There's an episode where he calls the police and they shoot at him 57 times, but miss every single time. And his exact response is he goes on TV after just like, I'm so glad to see our fine police officers taking the appropriate response to a black man like myself in a white good neighborhood like this. There's one episode which is like this flashback of him in the 50s just constantly trying to assassinate Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. And there's one episode where he's in he's in a courthouse. It's like the hurricane being sentenced for the murder. And he's just like, I stood in the courtroom and interrupts. He stands up. He says, he's guilty. I say he's guilty. Hang him now. I got the rope. But everyone can be racist. Every person, doesn't matter what color you are, you have the potential to be racist, and you can be racist to other races. You can be racist to your own race. It's all possible. Discrimination.
Yeah, shit, what's his name? Shane. The dude that got fired from SNL before he started. Shane. Something beginning with a G, maybe. Doesn't ring a bell. Podcast. She has that joke where he's like, it's not like you are or you aren't racist. Like, you know, just like, you know, it's like sometimes you're hungry, like sometimes you're racist. Like I'm driving down the highway and I get cut off by a hamburger and I'm like, fucking hamburgers. And he's like, by the way, in that analogy, the hamburger was a Jew. It's a pretty fucking good joke. I've got to look up his name now.
Okay. I agree with you. What I would say is I think one of the issues that we have is a failure to distinguish between unintended and intended offense and discrimination and racism. So what I mean by this is this. Your subconscious brain reacts differently to people that you feel more familiar with compared to less familiar with. And it's a very automatic thing. And it comes back to who you remember being around you. And it's not just a race thing. It's the way people walk, the way people talk, the dress code and stuff like that. And, you know, you have a subconscious reaction when you see a woman that you're attracted to. You have a subconscious reaction if you see somebody that's kind of dressed like yourself. And that's different from somebody of the same race who's maybe dressed differently to yourself. And this is all very quick things that happen in the brain. It's not intentional. It's just a result of the exposure that you've had. And that can result in discrimination or racism on like a subconscious level. And this is where I think sort of having kind of racial quotas, I don't necessarily agree with them entirely, but I can completely understand that the logic of it is to try and circumvent that kind of subconscious bias that people
it's a necessary step, because we can't be trusted to just fix the issue immediately. Like,
but I feel that
push back against the systemic elements.
But that needs to be distinguished from intentional racism. Do you see what I mean? I consciously have a belief that I am superior or you are inferior to me, and I have a right to.
Oh yeah, but I don't think the quotas or like affirmative action or anything is a response to the overt conscious racism. It's a response to the systemic racism. They kind of just, no one can really put a finger on it. Like, no one can really kind of stop it that quickly, and it's like, so then you have to have like the Rooney Rule, which really kind of amounts to nothing, as we've seen. But you know, you do need to, like, people won't change by themselves. Left to our own devices, we don't really come to like a moral high ground or anything like that. We're always looking to cut corners, and it just disguises itself in different ways. But yeah,
I disagree. I think these things always happen organically, generationally.
Maybe, but I can't think of a civilization, you know, that wasn't in some way, if not racist, like Joe Rogan's talked about it before, like that tribal thing where you always kind of want to, you always have your suspicions of anyone that's kind of different from a different settlement, different city, different state, whatever. Is this weird thing where like that survival instinct we have, where we have to distrust things, but we also need to be communal and have that strength in numbers. It means that we have kind of like a select group that we will identify with as the us, and all of the thems, like, we have a huge distrust of. And you know, whether you break that down into like religion, creed, race, whatever, like they always kind of have that. And then because something kind of, I'm not saying that's what's caused systemic racism, particularly like in America where they have the Rooney Rule, for example, and affirmative action. But like, humans always have a problem with something. There's always got to be a thing that we don't like. And then you have those stupid kind of stereotypes, like the right wing are these religious gun nuts, the left wing are these like fucking Antifa, like love canceling people, toxic social justice warrior kind of culture. And it's just fucking stupid, because no one's making any sense to me.
Well, okay, so the issue I have with, I think things change naturally generationally. And the argument I've made is that you can't say that things have not consistently and gradually always had the intention of improving these things for a pretty long time. Even if you go back to like the Jim Crow era, which you could argue, aside from slavery, was the worst kind of example of sort of white to black racism in the States. That progressively improved, you know, the thing that changed it was people the general consensus changing. It wasn't so much a kind of forced thing. It's that as generations went through, you know, people's opinions, and the younger generation saw the mistakes of the older generation and looked to correct it.
It didn't change organically. It changed off the back of effectively education. You know, people standing up and speaking out against this behavior, and then kind of disseminating that kind of message to other people, and having basically like an educational kind of push where kids are raised to be smarter and more thoughtful and mindful of these kind of things, and not just blindly accept like prejudice. But that's my point. Like, there has to be a push. You can't. I always say, like, if you have a child, you know, there's no inherent evil in there. They're not like instinctively racist or prejudiced or anything. Yeah, of course they're not. But they will develop within some kind of culture, multicultural, homogenous culture, whatever. but they will grow up in some kind of culture, and that is what's going to impact it. They will get pushed one way, and if you ever want them to see it something like in a different light, you're going to have to push them the other way. We always need that push, either be it education, reform, stipulations, whatever. We need something to force us to arrive to what we think are like the best conclusions.
I understand what you're saying. I just think that there's a difference. Like the education side, I'm completely with you on. I'm a big believer that the way to correct these things is that you teach generations flat not to focus on color. Basically, that this color of your skin does not matter, and have that as the base that then things go forward on. I feel that. Well, I feel sometimes the issue at the moment is that sometimes you can, focusing so much on a problem can exacerbate the problem rather than necessarily fixing it. It's not to say ignore it, but I do sometimes wonder whether or not the kind of fixation we have on the desperation to fix these things creates it as such a stigmatic argument that it kind of it reinforces race into the conversation rather than try to remove it. And it may very well be, as you say, that certain generations can't change, but I still feel that the next generation can, and they're the ones that end up making the world.
No. Every generation can change, but there has to be that push, that motivation, that incentive, whatever it is. But yeah, it's nice. It's a fair point. What you're saying, like, and like if we're kind of conscious of things, then there will always be people looking to question it, to subvert it. You'll never be able to get 100% of people thinking anything really. As soon as you get to a group of 3 people, it becomes nigh on impossible to get them to all think the exact same way about one thing. It's just the way we're fucking built. It's kind of our strength is that we play this numbers game as a kind of survival thing as a species. We're up to 9 billion, and we've never, through the evolutionary process, really developed just one kind of person, one kind of emotional language or whatever. There's always been a fucking spectrum in just about every way we can fucking manage, and that is because we kind of took a lot of Mother Nature's evolutionary tricks out of the equation.
Well, we
and
don't
made
have
it a lot safer for us to kind of do this shit.
We don't have a natural predator, even though
anymore. We did.
No, but even so, we would never. Very few animals would look at us as a primary food source. We would be opportunistic food, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They wouldn't come to a settlement, but if we were out gathering, hunting, walking, whatever, traveling, absolutely they would have a go.
True, but no animal based their diet on the ability to hunt humans. Humans were an added bonus that they got hunting other animals. So we were able to build stuff as well. But we still descend from monkeys, and this is something that always amazes me, particularly with chimpanzees. Is chimpanzees can't trust each other basically unless they are in their unless you're willing to fuck each other. They can't trust each other basically. Is the chimpanzee rule. That is how far their level of trust and willingness to engage in other groups without violence goes. And that's why the communities stay smaller, because that is as far as their trust level can go.
Well, even same sex?
Well, it's more like I use that colloquially, but more like a kind of brotherhood thing. It's like you have to have that level of willingness of trust with each other. And chimpanzees will react really badly to anything that seems like it's unfair or in the group in any way, shape, or form.
A lot of primates do that. So I can't remember what kind of monkey it is, but you see when they have them a TED Talk where they're getting them both to do the same task, and one of them gets like a pebble and the other one gets a grape. And it gets to the point that both monkeys are refusing to do the work. And the one getting the grapes is even sharing the grapes with the other monkey, because we have it too, that innate sense of kind of like fairness and justice.
Yeah. But they can't imagine the level of trust that they have to be willing to engage and trust with you is humans can extend that a lot further. But as you say, like, we're divided by countries, and I still think countries is way too big of a description for us. I think we can't look past it. It's the whole reason that club football teams are so popular. It's even in a country we're still so desperate to identify to our town, our village, our area of a city.
Yeah, it's an innate thing we have. It's a survival instinct. Anyway, fuck it, we've got a little far off. You gonna watch Bellator this weekend?
I don't even know who's
Mads
on Bellator.
Burnell's fighting Adam Borix.
Okay, I don't know much
Phil
about
Davis
Adam
is fighting
Borix.
too.
Phil Davis is always good.
Oh shit, he's good, man. He's on his way up. He's
Okay.
had a very good career in Bellator. Very exciting fighter.
I need to
Phil
start
Davis
watching.
is fighting. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say I need to start watching all of the promotions, man. Like if at the moment I'm a UFC guy, you know, the MMA is like names that I remember appearing in other promotions very briefly. But you know, I suppose if we want to be a true MMA podcast, we need to start doing a bit more Bellator and Rising.
We bring it up.
You're better at this than me. You're better at this than me. But
well, I do watch a lot more than just the UFC.
Watch a lot more.
Give you an idea. Adam Borich beat Pico, Pat Curran, lost to Darian Caldwell. That was all in a 3-fight stretch. That was like, you know, kind of his level. And then since then, he's been on a 3-fight streak. Eric Sanchez is decent, actually. Yeah, these guys aren't too bad. But Mads Burnell was like the next kind of like bigger name he's testing himself against since Caldwell. So definitely a fucking exciting prospect. Mads Burnell, absolute beast as well. So this is going to be a fucking good fight.
Is that
Mads Burnell got that fight over Saul Rogers? That's it's actually pretty much going to be on straight after the main event, UFC.
Oh, so it's tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night. But basically for us, it's Sunday morning.
Okay.
Like I think that the main card's going to be probably starting. Actually, I did look it up because the UFC's on a little earlier this week. So I think it's 4 a.m. The main card starts. It's only really the last few fights I'm going to bother watching, so I'm thinking about just getting up early for it.
That's a nice little
and then
Sunday
watching
morning.
everything back the next day. Yeah.
The only problem I have that, man, is the spoilers I worry about getting on my phone. I had to do that with the UFC 272, and it was gutting because the one tweet that I saw before I put the video on, all it said is, "I can't believe he survived all 5 rounds." And no context, knowing that 2 of the fights are 5 rounds. So obviously, I'm wanting Masvidal to win, and I'm assuming that it needs to be a knockout. It needs to be a finish for that to happen. So I'm watching the RDA versus Moicano fight completely differently. Because obviously I'm watching it thinking like, Jesus Christ, Moicano is taking damage. But when he's like almost being finished, what's going through my mind is, please let this be the fight they're talking about. Come on, Moicano, please pull through for me, because if this is the fight that was tweeted about, that still gives me hope of not knowing the result for the main fight.
Is it that hard to miss spoilers on your phone?
The problem is I wake up with an alarm on my phone. So it's not an issue once I'm awake, because I just put the phone down and I go straight across to my computer to find a stream to watch it. But obviously, it's that moment when I'm switching the alarm off at my phone and instinctively just looking to see what the time is. And I've got like instant notifications. So it's the thing that's kind of half popped up and you can almost not quite read, but read like 60%.
I don't have that problem.
That and the length of time left in a video has fucked me as well. So like when I watched Stipe versus Ngannou 2, it was gutting. I was watching it the next day. This was when the UFC was still good on Fight Pass and would have the main card available. So I could just watch the whole thing. But I get to the main fight and there's 10 minutes left in the stream. And it's gutting because I'm looking at it thinking like, I'm not saying it's impossible that Stipe wins this fight in 6 minutes, but it feels highly unlikely.
That's on you for checking how long's left in the video.
It's not my fault,
I just
man.
put it on and let it go.
It's not my fault.
And let it go.
Okay, when you're watching it on replay, you just want to skip those annoying in-between bits sometimes, and it bit me in the bum.
Oh, nice. See, this is the reason I don't. I just have the whole thing on. I just go smoke some weed in between fights. I use the time for chores.
I developed a new tactic for 272. I call it the arm guard. And I basically only look at I block the whole screen and then I just reveal just enough so that I can do the functions without seeing how much is left on the timer.
Fair enough.
My new tactic. It's my new tactic. Right. Well, we've covered the picks. We've covered a little bit of MMA chat. We've covered some NFL. And we went off on a little one of our usual tangents as we've been doing recently. Josh, is there anything else that you can think we should cover before we should wish these fine people a good day and tell them to enjoy the fights?
Yeah, Upload just dropped on Amazon season 2. I was pretty impressed with the first season, so I'm going to smash that out tomorrow.
I haven't watched that. I will check that out.
Bournemouth, despite a run of very, very shaky form, are still in second spot with some games in hand. I think we're going up this year. That's it from me.
Good note to leave it on. Guys, hit the like button if you watch the video. And as I said at the start, drop us in the comments. Tell us what your picks are for this card. If you guys do better than us, we will give you a shout out. And I'm going to start, the surprise I'm going to tell Sly next week, but I'll tell you now, Josh, is from next week onwards, we're going to start keeping a record of the pick tallies. So we're going to have a little league. We're going to have a competition. I don't think we'll do it for the whole year. We might do it in sort of like 2-3 month spurts or something like that. And we can have a little victory for the winner. And whoever comes in last place can do a little forfeit punishment as well, just so that it creates a little bit more interest, excitement, and raises the stakes a little bit to perform well on these picks. What's your initial thoughts?
All right, we'll have to figure out what the jeopardy is there then. But I like the idea of tracking it.
No financial jeopardy. Nothing that hits your wallet.
Well, I assume that much.
And no nudity.
Pretty bad if we did it that way.
No nudity. Keeping
Weird
it PG.
rules to have.
It sounds weird, but I had to run around my block naked a few years ago when I lost fantasy. So I've tasted that side of things, and I think we can all keep it.
I've had a run home naked before.
Is that because you lost a bet, or is that just because you lost your clothes?
I can't tell that story.
Okay.
Not on the podcast.
Okay.
All right.
On that note,
catch you after the fights, bud.
I'll catch you after the fights, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye,
Dave,
Laurie.
bye, Laurie, bye, Trifo.
Bye, Dave.
Catch you next week.
Peace.
Okay, I'm not going to record from this point. What's the story? Oh, damn. I tried to be cheeky. Tried to fool him. He was too smart.